My Lords, I am a passionate supporter of this bill. I support it because I believe in the institution of marriage, which is the bedrock of society and should be open to all. I support it because I believe in the values of the family, and this bill will, in my view, strengthen them. I support it because I'm a conservative. Respect for individual liberty is at the core of my being, and this is a bill that will add to the sum of human freedom. I support it because I'm a Christian, and I believe we are all equal in the eyes of God and should be so under man's laws. And I support it because I am one of those people I fear rather glibly derided by Lord Dear as being part of a tiny minority, and I think praised by my noble friend Lady Knight as being one of the delightful people, in that I am gay. I am in a civil partnership with somebody with whom I have been together for nearly a quarter of a century. I love him very much, and nothing would give me greater pride than to marry him. I hope, my Lords, you will forgive that personal pronouncement, but it seems to me that my experience goes to the heart of this debate. Of course, there are strong views on both sides, which I respect, and the debate today has illustrated them. But by far the most important aspect of this debate are the thousands of our fellow citizens, of whom I am one, who are not yet fully equal. This bill is about human beings, it's not about ideology. And my Lords, although some of you may disagree with me when I come here and talk about the press on occasions, I can assure you that in the main I really am exactly the same as you, except that I happen to love a man. Why should I be barred from taking part in a special institution that all of the rest of you can enjoy? And it seems to me that that is the nub of the matter. I say to the noble Lord Dear, his speech throughout was talking about using words like tolerate and toleration. Goodness me, this is 2013. Gay people don't want to be tolerated in this society, they want to be equal in this society. And I would say to my noble friend Lady Cumberledge, for whom I have most enormous respect, not least for her Trojan work on the issue of osteoporosis, she talks about gay people setting up different institutions. We don't want to have different institutions, we want to have the same institutions. And provided that this passes, this law will accord for me for the first time in my life that complete equality and respect, regardless of my sexuality, for what the noble Lord Jenkin, and what I thought was an incredibly powerful speech, described as the character of love that I feel able to give. I hope so much that this House, which has always valued the sanctity of the individual, will allow that to happen. My Lords, my personal experience aside, there are two strong reasons of principle why I support this bill. First, as a Conservative, I believe in human liberty. Some words of J.S. Mill, I know he was a great liberal thinker, but I concur with them, are deeply relevant to this debate. I quote, "The sole end for which mankind are warranted, individually or collectively, in interfering with the liberty of action of any of their number is self-protection. The state should only interfere in people's lives where it's preventing harm, banning smoking in public places or criminalising drugs." Well, marriage between two men or two women who love each other does not produce social harm. It is not endangering anyone. Why should the state actively stop it? This was a point echoed in a recent interview in the New York Times with the daughter of that great Conservative icon, President Reagan, one of my own heroes. He was, as we know, a social conservative to his core, but he also respected individual liberty and, according to his daughter, would have supported gay marriage. Why? Because of his, I quote, distaste for government intrusion into private lives. Patty Davis said that he and Nancy brought up their children to understand that there's absolutely nothing wrong with the idea that, quote, some men are born wanting to love another man. Quite right. If we respect individuality, the structure of our legal institutions must reflect that, and they do not. This bill puts that right by removing value judgments by the state, making the law neutral, and allowing all of those who want to make a lifelong, loving commitment to each other to marry. The second reason I support this bill is because of the power of legislation to change attitudes, something we've heard a little about. When I started in politics in the late 1980s, I started learning at the feet of the noble Lord Tebbit, for whom I have the most extraordinary respect. Most gay men had little choice but to hide their sexuality. Noble lords should understand how soul-destroying it can be to cover up an aspect of your life. The reason that young people can mostly live openly gay lives today is because legislation from this House and from the House of Commons led opinion. The bold reforms of John Major's government, the repeal of Section 28, the introduction of civil partnerships by the Labour government were all in advance of mainstream opinion, but have created a more inclusive, more liberal society by being so. This measure will have the same impact. Young gay people at school or university, battling with their own consciences, as well as still too often prejudice, will look to Parliament and see that in the eyes of the UK's lawmakers, they are treated with respect and dignity and equality. As the Prime Minister rightly put it, and I pay tribute to his huge courage in bringing forward this bill in the face of much prejudice and misinformation, they will stand taller as a result of our actions. Let me conclude, my lords, with this thought. The day my partner and I entered a civil partnership in 2006 was immensely special. It produced a tangible strengthening and deepening of our relationship in a way that I did not believe was possible. People sometimes say to me, isn't that enough? And we've had echoes of that today. Why can't gay people be happy with what we've already been granted? My answer is that it was the experience of civil partnership which convinced me of the need to go further. If a civil ceremony can produce such a deep change in the relationship between two people, imagine what a proper marriage, morally equal in the eyes of one's family and friends, could do. That is why I can put my hand on my heart, my lords, and tell you that this measure will not undermine marriage, it will strengthen it. It will not undermine the family, it will strengthen it. I know that to be true, my lords, because I have felt it, and that is why I beseech you to join me tomorrow in voting to give this bill a second reading. Yeah.
Well, that was a very moving speech. No